Hey, welcome everybody. Rob Provanshi here from noBs Photo Success and the Wizard of Light. It's been a couple of weeks since I did another episode of noBs TV. And the reason is because I've been really busy. Like, really busy, crazy busy. It's that time of the year, it's fall. I don't know, maybe I talked about this before, but sometime in August I started this new sort of strategy that big-time CEO coach Dan Sullivan teaches his students, and that is once a week, turn everything off. No email, no cell phones, no work, nothing. You can't go to the cottage and bring files with you and read while you're on downtime. Absolutely nothing. I started doing that one day a week where I was actually just turning everything off. And the reason that works, and I believe in it too, is that you, first of all, you need to have compelling goals, which I try and work on. And I've actually did a pretty kick-ass webinar for all noBs members. If you're a member of noBs, go check it out. Go watch it. It's really good. Better yet, go watch it, download it. Actually, if you go to wizardoflight.com, if you're not a member, you can go download it as well. It's in the replays. I've made it available to everybody because I really think it's very, very valuable. And it's a goal-setting sort of a presentation I put on. So when you have deep, meaningful goals and you have a purpose in life and you have this like vision, and then you sort of get busy doing stuff, you got to take downtime to allow creativity and innovation so that your heart, your soul can percolate ideas, can rise to the top, and you'll get inspiration. So it's important that you're not always turned on. You got to, stop, slow down. So my point is this. I've been meaning to do that. I've been doing them for up until about 3 weeks ago, but I've been going crazy busy the last 3 weeks, like crazy busy. Like, I just decided I can't. I got to go in and work on Sundays and do what I got to do, right? So, but I'll get back on that track. I'm going away for 3 months in Costa Rica. And one of the reasons that I get up in the morning, one of the reasons that I work my butt off, first of all, I love what I do. Okay, so you'll often see me working. I'll work till 10, 11 at night, but I'm never like frustrated. I'm never really feeling bogged down. I always feel good. So that's important if you're doing something you really love. And also take that one day off a week, which I admit I haven't done in the last 3 weeks because I've been so damn busy. But ultimately, I keep looking forward to this trip we're doing, my wife and I. We're still going to be working while we're down there. This isn't a Slackerville sort of a situation. I've got one wedding booked already, hopefully some more to come. If you're interested in seeing that site, CostaRicaPhotographer.net. We're actually ranking on the Google organic search engines through our own blogging. It's an old school technique that I really believe in. I told this to my wife. I said, if we do a blog a day, and eventually you go up the rankings. It's pretty straightforward. Anyway, so my reason for mentioning that is that, hey, I got that to look forward to, which is really bizarre that we're going away for 3 months. It's just I find it so bizarre because it's so against the grain of what is the norm out there. People look at us like, really? You're going away for 3 months? Yeah, and that's the plan every year. So it goes definitely against the grain. And we sold our house, minimized our lives, and it's just not the path well traveled. And it's kind of stressful as well, but at the same time, it's exciting. So anyway, so my point is that I'm working my ass off, doing lots of photography, had 2 fairy days. Sorry, just finished one fairy day, got one coming up. So we got two this fall. What we did was we organized a fairy day 200 miles west of our city with photographers that we know. They don't do ferries. We said, why don't we just pack up fairy days on the road, just bring it out there. We booked 11 sessions. Sales were not as strong as we normally see here, but here's my hunch. My hunch is that they're not used to it. Once we get the ball rolling, if we go back in 6 more months and do it again in the spring, it'll pick up some more. What's really funny is a couple of days after we got back, we got a phone call from a lady in that town who said, any chance you guys are coming to our city? And my wife, Tina's like, we were just there over the weekend, and I guess she never heard about it. So she's actually booked in our city for a week after this weekend. She's driving all the way up for Fairy Day. And I mean, people love these sessions, and we love doing them as well. So we make good money, and it's really easy to book out for the most part. Takes a few years, especially in our city, for things to get going, but it's going now for us. And you know what? Everybody who's I've taught. I've taught quite a few photographers on how to do fairy portraits in their photography studio. Unbelievable results. If they just follow the system, it's unbelievable. So, yeah. So here's what was happening. I'm crazy busy, and I knew I hadn't done one of these episodes, and then I'm listening to Gary Vaynerchuk while I'm working on fairy orders. And I'm complaining to my wife that I shouldn't be doing orders. I should be doing other stuff. I should be doing marketing, and we should get our part-timer back here to help us out. My wife says, well, I'll do them. Are you sure you want to do you want to do workflow in Photoshop? My wife's an accountant, okay? She's sort of, yeah, you know what I mean, right? She's teachable. She's learning. She has to write everything down. So I said, okay, you're absolutely convinced. I'm going to create a system that's going to make it brain dead simple for her. So here's what I did. And I've always actually wanted to do this, so this gave me an excuse to do it. I created a blank canvas, and then I created a layer mask, and on that layer mask I put the fairy rays. I created another layer mask which I put the sparkles, and I had several versions of that. So then I created a Photoshop action for the basic fairy workflow. It's sort of half sepia, a little bit of topaz, and then a little bit of ripple that is set back in history. If you're used to Photoshop, you know what I'm talking about. But the idea is that when I run the action, a good portion of the work's done. I'm a big believer in Photoshop actions. And then all she has to do, or all I have to do, is go and click on the state where the ripples were, and then brush in ripples where the pond is. And then this other file, I was just talking about the PSD, the layers with the rays and the sparkles, you just drag them over to the image that you're working on, and you can place them and tweak them and intensify them as you wish. Anyways, I created a video for those of you who are a member of noBs Photo Success, or if you're somebody who has purchased the fairy system, it's available, as well as that template with the fairy layer masks, rays, sparkles. I put it all in there for you guys to download. So if you're a member of noBs Photo Success, or if you're somebody who purchased the fairy system in the past, you still have access. Go get it. It's a pretty good video, real time saver. So you might want to check it out. So anyways, I'm working on fairies today. My wife had done a whole bunch. She's a lot slower than I am, and I thought, well, I'll do a couple more. And I'm listening to Gary Vaynerchuk because I love listening to stuff while I'm doing wedding workflow and or working portraits and stuff. And by the way, I really don't mind workflowing images. I don't like doing it when I'm really, really burdened with a lot of work and I've got 10 other things on the go. I get frustrated. Otherwise, I enjoy it. I couldn't do it 40 hours a week, but a couple hours a week, I actually to me, it's like going in the dark room. I go into my own little world, and I'll play podcasts, I'll play YouTube videos. I tried to watch some Sue Bryce videos, but you can't, because you can't do something else while you're watching Sue Bryce because she's demonstrating. So I've realized that, and I'm going to have to set time aside to dedicate to watch Sue Bryce. I think I'm going to take some of that time with my daughter, because I think she'll benefit. My daughter's taken on photography more and more and more. It looks that way anyways. So anyways, listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, who's amazing. If you haven't checked out Gary Vaynerchuk, check out his books. His most recent book is Jab, Cross. It's all social media. The way the information age is going ahead with social media. The guy's one of the most high energy speakers I've ever heard. Absolutely love the guy. I love his energy. I love what he says. I love what he teaches and preaches. He's legit, authentic, and his books are great. So just go buy all his books. Just do it. So if Gary Vaynerchuk, go to Amazon and go to YouTube. You get a lot of his videos. Go to his website. He's got a lot of replays there, and he's got a weekly podcast. So I'm listening to one of them, and I'm getting all these ideas, and I'm just jotting down ideas. I'm like, oh, shit, I got a noBs TV episode. It all came to me because of Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, I just got to sort of back up a little bit and tell you why I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk. The reason I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk was because last night we had part 4 with Vanessa Joy, who's an amazing New Jersey wedding photographer. Last night she talked about marketing and sales and social media, and she got into it big time. She dedicated the whole hour and a half. Now, this was part 4. We'd already done 3 parts for those who signed on. It wasn't free. It was $97. Most of the money goes to her, and they get downloads, and they get to watch each presentation, and they can download them and watch them over and over and over again. Really good value, in my opinion, especially if you're wanting to learn a particular area, and in this case was weddings. She's top-notch, absolutely top-notch. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Vanessa in a minute, some of the stuff she had said. I'm going to save it for the end. But she was talking about social media big time. She's a big believer in Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, etc., etc. And she mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk's new book, and coincidentally, she lives in the same state as Gary, not far from her place, so it's kind of cool. And I'm like, yeah, I know Gary. And at the end of it, I said, thanks for bringing that up. I love Gary, and I'm warning you guys, as well as I warned them, if you go watch any of his presentations, which they're all available on his website, he speaks at many conferences. He tends to swear a lot, so you got to get over it. And if it offends you, keep watching anyways, and don't be too easily offended. It's good stuff. So yeah, I love listening to audios while I'm doing workflow, while I'm driving, constantly. If I'm planning a trip out of town, I'll download a bunch of podcasts. I just for your interest, in case you're interested, Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. If you're a history buff like I am, unbelievable. The only problem with that for me is, I suppose it's good because it's very educational, but I can overdo it. So I tend to not go in too many marathon hardcore history listens because, after 7-8 hours, you got to kind of clear your brain and get back into reality. I find it so fascinating. So if you're a history buff, you can go download all his stuff. It's all free. Unbelievable. This guy is world class. He's not a historian, but he's got a degree in history, and he's also a journalist. So really good. Love that stuff. So yeah. I just want to mention, too, talking about history, I put a post in noBs Photo Success. If you remember, go check it out. It's really good. It's about Beethoven. There was a new book out about Beethoven, and apparently talked a little bit about his history and why he was so epically good. And after he died, it was like, he was not a mountain. He was a mountain range. That was a description that was used. Like musicians were like, where do we go now? I mean, there's Beethoven, and then there's nothing. He was by far so revered and set the bar so high. But then he also talked about how he got to be so good. And one of the reasons he got to be so good was he literally, when he started out, he copied all these other musicians, and he would write out their scores. And he went to all these musicians, and he constantly was being taught and looking for lessons over and over and over. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so valuable for us photographers and business people to know that in order to get ahead, you got to be able to look at those you admire, and it's okay to swipe their work and try and mimic their work, because that's what Beethoven did. That's what literally every artist who is successful did, initially at least. We look at what they do, and we say, oh, I love that. And if it's something that you love, it speaks to you. It has a connection to you. So it's okay. It's okay to go out there and try and mimic their work, because out of that will come your own style. Do you think Beethoven came up with his own style? Yeah, it did. Absolutely. So yeah. So I'm looking at my notes here to see what else I got for you. So yeah, workflow strategy for my wife, Tina, and I created that. I showed the video. I think I talked about that already. Vanessa Joy, let me talk a little bit about her again. She recommended a couple of softwares, and one that I found really, really cool was called, let me check my, hold on. I got it on my computer because I bought it, and I bought the big pack, which was about $70. It's called Blog Stomper. You can buy it for 1 or 2 users, I believe, and it's like $40, or you can buy it for 10 users or 5. I can't remember. So I bought the big. It was only $70 or $80. Oops, sorry. Let's bring that back. Anyways, so that was my big toes, by the way. So anyways, I love that software she recommended, Blog Stomper. because you pulls in images and it brands them according with your logo, and it creates images that are either composites or single images branded with your logo, and it's fast and easy. I could do all that by hand in Photoshop, but this is a real time saver. For me, it's all about saving time. That's why I created the strategies for my wife to do the fairy workflow, and out of that came that PSD file with the different layers of the brushes and the sparkles and all that. Make things easier, make things faster. It's all about finding systems, all about finding shortcuts. Seems that that's what life is all about. I got to read you something here. While I'm on the topic of Gary Vaynerchuk, Vanessa put a quote from Gary, and I posted it in the noBs forum. And I'm going to read it to you right now. The sun's coming out. Oh! All right, here's a quote by Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, "I have bad news. Marketing is hard, and it keeps getting harder." This is good news to know, because it's kind of like a reality check. He continues, "But there's no time to mourn the past or to feel sorry for ourselves. And there's no point in self-pity anyway. It is our job as modern-day storytellers to adjust the realities of the marketplace, because it sure as hell isn't going to slow down for us." Wise words from Gary. Thank you, Gary, for that. I like that so much, I actually grabbed a screen capture. Sorry, Vanessa. And I put it, and I just wanted to share that. So it was really, really good. So almost done here. Yeah, so towards the end of Vanessa's talk last night, it was kind of cool to see her talk about exercise and taking care of your body, because you don't hear about that too often. It's something I personally really believe in. Here I am, 56 years old. Whoa. And it's funny too how as you get older your goals gravitate towards health and longevity versus buying shit and having nice cars, which I'm not into anymore. I'm not into buying stuff. I'm into having experiences and being in good health. Your priorities do change. So if you're younger and you're looking at this and it's not connecting with you, force it, man. This is important. I guarantee you, if it doesn't connect with you now, it'll connect you at some point in time when you're 50 plus years old. If you have not taken care of yourself, you're going to be in serious compromised situations. You don't want that. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Thanks for that, Vanessa. It was kind of cool to hear you talk about exercise as an asset, as something to work towards. You know, I got to tell you this about exercise. Let me tell you this. I read a book a couple of years ago. It was called Spark. It was by, I believe, an American doctor. And he's been researching depression and exercise and the effect of exercise in sports, physiologically on our bodies, biologically on our bodies, on our brains, brain development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's proven without a doubt. The effects are massive when you exercise. Even if you go for a walk. I mean, Steve Jobs used to go for walks all the time. And he'd have these meetings. He said, let's go for a walk. I love that idea. Last week, I started Muay Thai. I've been doing cardio kickboxing and karate for the last 14 years. And the club stopped. They just packed it in. They're not doing cardio kickboxing anymore. So I've been looking for an alternative, and I found one that does Muay Thai, which is, I like hitting things, you know. Ooh, it's a good workout. So I started joining last week, and after the first class, I was a little out of shape, so I was in a lot of pain the next day. But that night, I went to a local Chamber of Commerce meeting, and man, I tell you, I felt just high. I felt like I was buzzing. Now, I enjoy going to those meetings. I just naturally get high just being around people. I love meeting people, but I felt extra alert, and I just felt like I was on my game. So I really had a good time there, meeting people, and it was too short. It was only 2 hours. It could have gone on longer. I would have enjoyed it. It's like when it was over, it was like, aw, is it done? So anyways, yeah, exercise. It's good. A couple more thoughts here. I was talking to Danny Rabila. Danny Rabila is going to be the co-presenter with me in Costa Rica in March. March 9th is the week. Mark your calendars. We're creating what's called the noBs Inferno. It's going to be 4 days of instruction, 9 to 12, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I have a restaurant, open air, covered, second floor on the beach. That's where we're going to have our classroom on the beach, facing west, so that in the morning the sun's coming from the other side. We'll be in shade. We could run a video projector. We're going to do 4 days in class, 9 to 12, 12 to 4. You're free to go boogie boarding, surfing, whatever you want to do. 4 to 6 every day we're going to go on the beach. We're going to have live model shoots, shooting with lights, off-camera flash. Bring your cameras. It's limited to 20 people, by the way. But if you want to come out, it's going to be $297 per person, limited to 20. InfernoWorkshop.com. It's not up yet. This is the end of October. It's going to be up in a few days. At least the basic information will be up in a few days. If you're interested, send me an email or let me know, or just keep tabs on that website, InfernoWorkshop.com, and you'll see the updates coming. I'm going to be putting on there places that you can stay. Resorts. I don't recommend a resort. I recommend you rent a hostel or a condo or a cabina on the beach, depending on how much your budget is. You can save money if you bunk up with others, but if you want to splurge, maybe you want to come with your spouse, make it a special getaway, and at the same time, you can write it off. It's a write-off. So it's a learning environment, bar none. Totally cool, because it's in Costa Rica, my favorite place. So look forward to that. More information coming your way. All right. So one last thought. I bought a new camera. I bought a Nikon D750. I was going to go mirrorless. I was looking at the Sony A7S. I may have mentioned that before. I looked and looked, and I really, for months, watched every video, read every review, and I was 90% there. And the only reason I didn't go is, first of all, it's a major pain in the ass to get rid of all my gear and go to Nikon or Sony. Although I could have gotten an adapter and put the lenses on. I was not 100% convinced that the quality of the files was there for large family wall portraits. That's so important because I shoot so many of those. And then I read a review about the Nikon D750, and it sold me, and I found one at our local camera store, and I said, screw it, I'm buying it. So that means I'm committed to Nikon at least for another year or two. I see it coming. Mirrorless is coming. I may actually get one and just shoot it for candids, other than the Sony DX10 that I bought, which I don't consider to be a pro-level camera, but it's a lot of fun. I use it for some candids on weddings. But to do, use it more mainstream, I may pick up just a mirrorless Fuji or a Sony down the road, just for fun. All right, last thought. There's this thing that floats around in my head. It's called the pull. I may write a book about it. It's just been ruminating in my mind. The pull. And what it means is this. We're pulled in one of two directions. We're being pulled backwards. We may not even know it, because if you're, if you ever been in the ocean and seen somebody get pulled out by a riptide, it's unbelievable. It's like they don't even know it's happening until it's too late. It's this pull. They're being pulled, and it's easy to pull out of. They just got to sort of not panic and swim along parallel to the shoreline, and eventually the riptide current will just fizzle out, and they can swim back in. And it's the same in life, because if you're not careful, if you're being pulled, you're sort of just going down the wrong road, and you want to be able to pull yourself into the right direction. And this just I question this, because as I get older, I see people around me all the time, and I'm like, what happened to them? And if you're younger, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you may not, this shit may not matter to you. But I urge you to think about it and plan. I don't know how many ways or how many times I want to talk to my daughter and instill this idea. She's 19. When you're 19, it's like anything is possible. The world is there for you, and that's good. You want to be that way. But you want to be able to plan now and start planting the seeds for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because life isn't just about when you're 19, 20, 21 or 30, 31, 32. It's an entire adventure. I feel I've done a lot of epically good stuff in my life, but I look around me and I see people that are just stuck, and excuses and rationalizations, which is nothing but bullshit, and cover up for fears and ego and pride, which all of that stuff to me is nothing but fear. It's all fear. So anyways, it's just an interesting concept. So have goals, have clarity, have a vision in your mind. It's hard to do, and I'll tell you why it's hard to do, because it relies on your imagination. When you have to come up with something new, you have to fight all the forces that came before you that have been implanted in your heart and soul, and every justification, every time you've ever kind of justified a behavior or a set of circumstances, and it didn't take responsibility for it, that paints a picture for you, and it's a picture that pulls you in the wrong direction. You want to paint a picture that pulls you in the best direction so you can be the best you can be. It's so vital to implement that. So anyways, that I hope makes sense. And I'm going to post a couple of my fairy shots in this bloggy thing. You'll see them just so you can see what I've been doing. And apologize for being so late. I don't know if you're tracking any of that, but yeah, I try and do these once a week. It's been a few weeks. I'm back in the saddle, I hope. And we'll see you later. So if you have any questions, send me an email, rob@wizardoflight.com. Do mark your calendars for March 9th, 2014, Costa Rica. All right, guys. I'm out of here.